Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are going to take something that honestly often feels like an intimidating, mysterious art form, and we're going to break it right down into understandable, practical building blocks. Okay, let's dive into this. We are decoding the fundamentals of graphic design. Whether you're a total novice just wanting to understand the visual world around you, or maybe you're looking to build practical skills to jump into those online freelance marketplaces, This Explainer is designed precisely for you. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with decoding graphic design, then look at vector versus raster graphics, explore the core elements of design, move into the principles of composition, and finally, we'll wrap up with essential design software. All right, Section 1, Decoding Graphic Design, Solving Visual Challenges. So what actually is graphic design? Well, our source material hits the nail on the head here. Graphic design is the art and skill of combining typography, images, colors, shapes, and layout to create visual compositions that aren't just, pretty to look at, but are actually effective and purposeful. At its absolute core, it's about solving visual communication challenges. Think of designers as translators. They take these complex, sometimes super messy concepts and turn them into visual forms that audiences instantly understand, whether that's on a glowing digital screen or a physical printed poster. Moving right along to Section 2, Vector versus Raster Graphics. These are the atomic building blocks of the digital design world. You really have to understand these before making any artistic choices. On one side, we have vector graphics. These are actually created using mathematical formulas. Imagine a mathematical rubber band. You can stretch it to the size of a massive billboard or shrink it down to a tiny postage stamp, and it will literally never lose its pristine quality. On the flip side, we have raster graphics, which you might know as bitmaps. These are made of a strict grid of tiny individual pixels. Think of a raster graphic like a beautiful tile mosaic. It looks fantastic at its intended size, but if you try to stretch that mosaic out, the tiles pull apart and the whole image becomes blocky and distorted. Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing that difference right up close. Look at the zoomed-in circle on the left. Because the vector is just mathematical instructions, the edge of that shape remains beautifully crisp, no matter how close you get. But look at the raster image on the right. When we zoom in there, you clearly see that underlying grid of individual colored squares. Those are your pixels. If you scaled that raster image up, those chunky, pixelated edges would completely ruin your design. So choosing the right format from the very start, yeah, that's non-negotiable. Okay, Section 3, Core Elements of Design. Let's talk about the actual ingredients of visual communication. First up, typography, which is the art of arranging and styling typefaces. And trust me, it's so much more than just randomly picking a font from a drop-down menu. Just look at the anatomy of the text here. Professional designers pay meticulous attention to details, like the ascenders reaching up, the descenders dropping below the baseline, and that precise X height right in the middle. The way you style text fundamentally dictates the tone of your entire message and, crucially, how readable it is for your audience. Next, we have color, which is guided by color theory. This is the study and application of colors to create visually harmonious designs. Honestly, color is arguably the single most powerful tool a designer has at their disposal. It can instantly establish a mood or an atmosphere before the viewer has even read a single word. And the absolute holy grail of color theory is the color wheel. If you follow this wheel, you see exactly how primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, mix to create secondary colors, like orange and green, and from there, we get tertiary colors. A truly skilled designer uses the relationships on this wheel to ensure the colors in their layout don't clash, but actually create a really satisfying visual harmony. Now, if you want to actually speak the language of a designer, we have to move beyond just saying things like light blue or dark red. We use these 5 specific properties. Hue is simply the name of the color in its pure form. If you add black to a hue, you get a shade. Add white and you get a tint. Add gray and you create a muted tone. And finally, saturation refers to the sheer intensity and purity of that color. But wait, how do we actually produce these colors in the real world? Well, it entirely depends on your medium. Digital screens use the RGB system, that's adding red, green, and blue light together. But physical printers use the CMYK system, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black ink, which actually subtracts light reflecting off the paper. So the absolute crucial point here is this. If you design a vibrant digital poster in RGB mode and then send that exact file to a commercial printer without converting it to CMYK, your colors are going to come back looking completely dull, muddy, and ruined. It's a fundamental rule of the trade. So why obsess over getting the exact right colors? Because of color psychology. Notice how the brands mapped out here deliberately choose specific colors to subtly evoke emotions. Massive tech and finance companies rely heavily on blue to project trust, dependability, and strength. Meanwhile, brands that want to evoke excitement, youth, and boldness, they lean into red. It's literally a silent conversation happening with the consumer. Section 4. Principles of composition. Now that we have our elements, we need the rules of the canvas. Let's start with balance, which is all about distributing visual weight. On the left, we have symmetrical balance. It's perfectly mirrored, offering a really strong sense of stability and formal order. But look at the right side. That is asymmetrical balance. The elements are totally different sizes and shapes, yet the heavy visual weight of that large circle is perfectly counterbalanced by the spread out smaller circles. It still feels completely harmonious, but it's just much more dynamic. Next is contrast. This is how you draw the eye exactly where you want it to go. You can do this in a few ways. Look at the visual pacing here. Your eye naturally jumps straight to the jagged shape hiding among the smooth circles. In the second panel, that vibrant red circle instantly pops out from the dark ones. And in the third, the massive scale of the top boxes demands your attention first. Bottom line, contrast creates emphasis. And this right here perfectly illustrates visual hierarchy. On the left, we literally just have a wall of text. Everything looks exactly the same, and your brain has no idea where to start reading. But on the right, through the use of bold blocks, varied sizes, and color accents, the designer has created a structured order of importance. You instinctively know to look at the top dark bar first, then the red accent, and then read down through the content. It guides you. To keep all this order, designers swear by two major tools. First, grid systems. These are invisible horizontal and vertical lines that help align elements so everything feels consistent. Second is white space, or negative space. This is the crucial breathing room between elements. And here is a fun, surprising fact for you. White space doesn't actually have to be white. It could be a background, solid blue, whatever. It simply means the intentional absence of content, just to give the eye a rest. Section 5. Essential Design Software. The industry tools. Honestly, mastering these specific programs is the absolute key to unlocking career opportunities and thriving if you want to jump into online freelance marketplaces. You have definitely heard of these two heavyweights, Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. While novices might think they just do the exact same thing, you now know the difference between vectors and rasters, which means you're about to see exactly why a professional designer strictly uses the right tool for the right job. Let's kick things off with Photoshop. Photoshop is the absolute, undisputed champion of raster-based editing. Because it works down at the pixel level, it is your go-to software for comprehensive photo editing, complex image compositing, and retouching. With its advanced layers, masks, and incredible tools like content-aware fill, which basically magically replaces unwanted background objects, Photoshop is where you go when you need to manipulate reality, pixel by pixel. But let's say you're designing a brand new company logo. You are going to open Adobe Illustrator. Illustrator is a vector graphics engine. It relies on those mathematical formulas we talked about, meaning the artwork you create using its precise pen tool can be scaled infinitely without ever losing an ounce of quality. It also offers incredible typography controls, making it the essential choice for creating the scalable logos and brand identities that clients on design marketplaces are actively paying top dollar for. And just like that, we're at the end of our explainer. We've gone all the way from the raw math of vector graphics to the psychology of color, right up to the software pros use every single day. So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Right now, look at the apps on your phone or grab a piece of packaging off your desk. Can you spot the invisible grid systems holding it all together? Can you identify the typography hierarchy telling you what to read first? What about the color psychology? What is it trying to make you feel? Whether you want to build a professional career, freelance online, or just appreciate the art around you, once you learn to see the world through a designer's eyes, you will absolutely never look at it the same way again. Thanks for learning with me today.